It's the class Harvard students can't seem to get enough of.
We can learn gratitude as a way of life.
It's not a course on philosophy or law or engineering.
It's a class that focuses on making people happier, and we all want to be happier.
Tal Ben-Shahar is part professor, part motivational speaker, delivering spirited lectures in a course called Positive Psychology, a mix of serious research, pop culture, and pop songs. Every class starts with a tune. Today's theme, change.
Do it. Just do it. You can't make a change in theory.
We take our happiness for granted, and that's why it's so important that we study it. So I think it just works to help them to apply the class outside of the classroom.
856 students pack into this theater twice a week to learn and laugh. With so many pressures in life to achieve, better grades, better jobs, bigger raises, sometimes happiness gets lost in the rat race.
What is actually important for sustained happiness is the internal, our perception of the world. For instance, how do we look at failure? Do we see it as a stumbling block, or do we see it as a stepping stone?
Sam Siner and Tiffany Niver are exploring those very questions.
It's telling us that it's not a bad thing to try to do what makes us happy, because ultimately it will benefit ourselves and it will benefit everyone around us.
Students are encouraged to keep a gratitude journal to chronicle the positive things in their lives.
You come out of this class, I think, with a little bit more idea of how you can apply it every day. Whereas when I'm learning intermediate macroeconomic theory, I don't see directly at this point in my life how I can apply that every day.
Some call it self-help. Others call it life-changing. Harvard grad Liz Peterson was headed for a career in law until the class opened her eyes with 3 simple questions.
What do you find meaning in? What are you good at? And what do you find pleasure in?
The answers sent her in a different direction.
Psychology and trying to help people be happier about their lives.
Perhaps a sign of the times that students have to be taught happiness in a classroom?
I don't think college campuses as environments are less happy. I think it's because we can study something that makes us happy as well as has huge impacts.
After all, where else can you find a course where something other than a good grade makes you really happy? Dan Lothian, CNN, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Well, joining us live now from our Boston studio is the lecturer of that course, Tal Ben-Shahar from Harvard University. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good to be here.
Good, thank you. We want to ask you, first of all, what were the 3 questions that you asked students to ask themselves when they're deciding what course in life they want to go through?
Yeah, the 3 questions, and in this order, are what do you find meaning in, what do you find pleasure in, and what are you good at?
What do you find meaning, what do you find pleasure, and what are you good at?
Yes, in other words, what do you see as your purpose, what do you enjoy doing, and what are your strengths?
Okay, as our viewers start to ponder that question, those 3 questions, I want to ask you, is it the sign of the times that we need to take a course in any facet of our life, any stage on how to be happy or how to search for happiness?
Yeah, I think it's more a sign of human nature than of time. I think this is something which is universal. It has existed in every time and place. The difference today is that positive psychology came onto the scene. Positive psychology is the study of life flourishing, the study of happiness, the study of well-being, and it is bringing academic rigor to the field of self-help.
Oh, so you're saying that with all the advent of all these self-help gurus now, it's almost become a part that we have to study it, to look at it and see what exactly are they doing and whether or not they're on the right course?
I think what's happening is that there is a lot of self-help out there. The problem with a lot of the self-help, surely not all of it, but a lot of it is that it lacks the rigor that is necessary to make a real change in one's life. And what positive psychology does is bring that rigor, bring the empirical evidence to the field of life flourishing.
Do you think that we're in a time in this part of our society with war, with some of the stresses and the strains, or one of our anchors just reported the rising cost of energy and how that's going to impact our lives and the economy, that we're so busy, we're so worried about things that maybe we need to all find a course on how to be happy?
Yes, I think we're focusing way too much on the external. Surely the external matters, but what research shows is that ultimately what determines happiness is not our status or the state of our bank account. Rather, it's our state of mind.
Well, the state of our bank account, in some regards, some people would argue, does affect our happiness. It does. It says that I can pay bills, I can do the things I've dreamed of. That leads to better happiness. But you might disagree.
I disagree to an extent. Up to a certain point, the state of our bank account matters, but beyond paying our basic bills, beyond satisfying our very basic needs, it really doesn't lead to sustained, lasting happiness.
What do you find so interesting about this course that made you decide, A, to launch it, and are you surprised by the number of students that want to enroll? Nearly 1,000.
I was surprised by the numbers, but in retrospect, it makes sense. I mean, after all, what is more important than identifying the conditions that will lead us to a happier life? And I think this is something that is universal. And the primary difference between this class and other classes is that it is applied. Students can actually come out of the class with actual tools and techniques that they can use to improve their lives.
Tell me about yourself. How do you find happiness? How do you find inner peace, serenity?
Well, today's class is actually on mindfulness meditation. I do yoga regularly. I exercise regularly. I focus on the things that I can be grateful for. You know, we take the good things in our lives for granted. This doesn't mean ignoring the negative, but it also means appreciating the positive, because when we appreciate it, we not only stop taking it for granted, we also make it grow. The second sense of the word appreciate.
What would you tell our viewers right now? Give them one piece of your course that they can use today and every day of their lives. Just one item.
One item, permission to be human. There's so much pressure on us in our society to be happy all the time, to put in a smile. And we don't allow ourselves to also experience the negative emotions. Why? Because we think, well, there must be something wrong with us if we experience sadness or anxiety at times, when in fact the opposite is the case. There must be something wrong with us if we don't experience anxiety or sadness at times. And paradoxically, when we give ourselves the permission to be human, when we allow ourselves to experience the negative as well, that's when we open ourselves up to real, genuine happiness.
Well, those watching us at home, Tal Ben-Shahar, lecturer on psychology from Harvard University, has given you an assignment. He has told you to give you permission to be human. And, sir, we want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. He's given you all an assignment for today. Permission to be human.
To be human, to be real.
To be real.
So what do you find meaning in? That tells you what your purpose is.
What are you good at?
What do you find pleasure in? Tells you what you're good at. And what are you good at? Tells you what your strengths are.
Well, that's exactly right. And, of course, answer those questions, and I think you may find an answer to be happy.